Okay, starting tonight with open forum, the select board would like to recognize and congratulate Haley Campbell. Haley is a 7th grader at Stony Brook, and she is one of 10 young women who was selected to play futsal, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in the 2010 birth year national team. She traveled out to Kansas and competed with approximately 30 other young girls to be picked and chosen for this team. And she is now a part of the team and will be, I believe, traveling nationally to compete on behalf of the United States. She is the goalie for the team, and we just want to say congratulations to her on her accomplishment and her achievement. And we look forward to hearing about the competition and her role in it. So Haley, well done and congratulations from the select board. Okay. With that, anybody else have anything for open forum? Tom?
People have congratulated Jody and the town staff and all the people that attended the retreat and other forums, but I just want to do it again here. It was a great event, a great chance to reconnect, felt a little bit post-COVID, and I think gave us a chance to introduce a lot of things that we're working on to the town. So much appreciated to Jody and her team.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. All right, and I don't see anything else from anybody. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have on a consent agenda the request to approve the following. A special license for the Westford Regional Art Event. The applicant is Alice Phelan on behalf of the Parish Center for the Arts. The date is Friday, September 23rd from 6:30 to 9 p.m. And the location is the Parish Center for the Arts at 10 Lincoln Street. A request for use of the town common and a bandstand permit for, again, the Westford Regional Art Event Awards Ceremony. The applicant is Alice Phelan on behalf of the Parish Center for the Arts. The date is Saturday, September 24th, with a rain date of Sunday, September 25th. The time is 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also a request for the use of the town common and a bandstand permit for the celebration of Federal Columbus Day. The applicant is Anthony DeLeo. The date is Monday, October 10th. The time is from 3 to 6 p.m. Then we have a request for banners, and the first one is for the First International Block Party. The applicant is Westford Remembers. The dates are Sunday, October 9th through Wednesday, October 19th, and the location is in front of the J.B. Fletcher Library. And the second banner request is for the Boy Scouts of America Troop 159 Winter Sporting Goods Sale. The applicant is Malik Shah. The dates are Saturday, October 29th through Tuesday, November 8th. The location is in front of the First Parish Church. Then we have a request for a street closure for a neighborhood block party. The applicant is Krista Vasi and Andrea McKinley. The date is October 15th with a rain date of Sunday, October 16th. The time is 2 to 6 p.m. and the location is 1 Lillian Road to 15 Lillian Road. And lastly, a permission for a road race walk. The event is the Friends of the Poor Walk for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. The applicant is Diane Gavel on behalf of the Westford Friends of the Poor Community. The date is Friday, November 11th. The time is 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. The route starts and finishes at St. Catherine's of Alexandria on North Main Street, then Town Farm Road, Forge Village Road, Cold Spring Road, Patton Road, Route 225, and East Prescott Street. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda together with recommendations from the public safety officials? And I see your hand, Anita. So is there a motion? And then, oh, go ahead, Anita. And then we'll.
Sorry. I just had a quick clarifying question for the Westford Remembers banners request. I know the application said First Parish, but then on the agenda, it's for the J.B. Fletcher Library. And I just wanted to make sure, is that because of availability of the location?
I don't know the answer to that question. Jody?
Yes, that would be why it would be changed. Unless there was an error, but my guess is that it's because the other was not available.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right. So is there a motion to proceed? To approve?
So
the-
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor, John,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We are at our 7:10 PM item, which is a continuation of the ARPA funding request to determine allocations. So I guess quick update, Jody, if there is any, with respect to where we are with ARPA, both projects approved, projects pending, et cetera.
Sure, so usually we start with Dan giving a brief update, and we'll start with that if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we ended last year with a balance of 148,000, just over. Adding on the first payment for being an NEU of just under 1.3 million and a few closeouts, we started our season, if you will, with 1,452,597 in funding. So over the past two meetings, the select board has appropriated just over 286,000 for 12 different projects. So right now we have a current balance of 1,165,000. There's no word yet on the second ARPA payment for having a non-functioning county, but when that does come in, it should add about 2.4 million to our total.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did ask Eric to pull up the sheet. We have one new request. And here it is. So this is from WCAT, and they've asked for $50,000. And the purpose would be to configure the new town center meeting room at 51 Main if that project passes at town meeting. So it's not an urgent today request, but they wanted to put it in here. As
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Let's just get it on the list. And obviously, whether we, fund this or go forward with it will obviously depend upon what happens at town meeting. Anita?
I had a question about who owns this equipment then. If it's for the town building, but Westford Cat is requesting it, does it end up being Westford Cat's equipment? That's just housed at the.
Tom?
For other equipment, Anita, that's been purchased like this, it does show up on Westford Cat's balance sheet. So if that was a concern, there could be some side letter between the town and Westford Cat, I'm sure. Westford Cat just feels like if they're taking on the role and the pleasant duty of providing AV services, they just want to make sure the facility is well equipped. I don't think they would care who owns it. They're just interested in making sure it's ready for AV broadcast.
Thanks.
Jody, did you want to add anything or not?
No, that was our only new request that we
Okay.
added. And then I know that the health department would
Right.
like to run through their request with you. But nothing else is urgent on tonight's request, so,
Okay.
or time sensitive.
All right. So I do know that the health department wants to present their requests and go through them again. So I believe that's going to be Ray Dick. So Eric, if you could promote her.
Madam, might be best if we refer to the projects by number so we all know exactly which one we're talking about.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, Ray. Okay, Ray, if you want to go through your requests, and again, as Jody, if we can refer to them by number, which is up, they're up on our screen. So if you'd like to go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think the first one's 19, so if we
Yep.
could start there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. Project number 19, if we could ask that that would be tabled this evening.
Okay.
I know that the Council of Aging could not make it tonight, and I know she wanted to be part of that discussion, if that would be okay.
Yep, no problem.
All right, and project number 20, we're going to withdraw that request. We're happy to report that due to recent state funding, we have been able to join the Northeast Tobacco Free Partnership, where they will provide a tobacco inspector for Westford. So they'll be able to provide those inspections, establishment inspections, issue education, help them through the process and issue any fines or court appearances needed in the future. So we're excited about that.
Great, that's wonderful.
Number 23, project number 23, that's been a long program here at the Westford Health Department. It's a program that provides assistance for minor dental work to any resident that is over the age of 55 years old. So we, in the past, our health department has fundraised that through the Westford Charitable Foundation, the Friends of the Cameron Senior Center, to put together a fund each year to help reimburse any residents, as I said, over 55 without any dental insurance. So this year we were able to reach out to the Friends of the Cameron, who were able to help us out with $3,000 for this fiscal year. There's an application process that any resident who would like some assistance can fill out. We vet that application through the health department, and then they can go ahead and make an appointment for dental work, and we will pay that bill for them. So we were requesting some ARPA funding this evening for up to $20,000 to help set this fund for future years, and hoping that that's something we can do.
So a question for you, Ray. Do you have, I mean, is the $20,000 based on past experience in terms of how much money has been used or how much has been expended in this program?
Sure. So in the past, the average dental bill that we see is between $300 and $600 per resident, and that it varies with some minor dental. So for instance, if it's a filling or cleaning, some minor gum disease issues, things of that nature. So this year alone, due to COVID and folks not being able to visit the dental, we have seen an increase in requests. So again, our hope is that this funding would be able to supplement that.
So, right, I get that, but I guess my question was, in the past, how much funding has the health department had for this program?
Between $8,000 and $10,000 per year.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
John, I saw you had your hand up.
You say this is, Ray, you say it's 55 years or older and have no dental insurance. What's the benchmark as far as income and that sort of thing? Should that be on the application that says that if you make more than X amount, you don't apply?
So we do adhere as per the Friends of the Cameron's requirements to our 200% poverty level. So we always make a phone call as soon as we receive the application to ask those questions over the phone to see if they have insurance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let me just make sure nobody else has any, and no other board members have questions, which it does not appear they do. So moving on to the next one, Ray, 24.
Sure. So 24, we're requesting tonight that the Westford Health Department and Board of Health approval of ARPA funding to complete a comprehensive community health assessment and community health improvement plan. This would be part of the health department's goal of accreditation moving forward. This is part of our Mass Department of Public Health Excellence Grant that was filed a couple of years ago. And as part of that grant process, 4 communities, the town of Acton, city of Lowell, Westford, and Acton have all requested for a regional community health and wellness coordinator, and have also asked for an accreditation coordinator to help with the accreditation process. As part of the accreditation process, you need to first have a community health assessment completed, and you need a community improvement plan. We have reached out to a couple of different outside partnerships to see who specialize in these plans, and we received some quotes of about $200,000 for both plans.
Okay, I think, I know people have questions about this race, so before I start, any other board members have questions? Scott? And then Tom.
So, being not really sure what all this meant, I took a look and said, well, how many municipalities in Massachusetts are accredited? And the answer was 4, all of them major cities. So I guess my question is, what does this do for us that it doesn't seem to be that common, but is there some benefit to doing it that I'm not aware of?
Absolutely. So that is correct. There are 4 cities right now that are currently accredited in Massachusetts for this national accreditation. Speaking with the Public Health Accreditation Board, they have several communities that are working towards accreditation. However, due to confidential requirements, they were not able to share those communities. Our group alone, which is a regional grant, we have 4 communities working towards accreditation. But again, accreditation it's a marathon, not a sprint, so it can take years. So I understand where you're coming from. There's only 4 cities at this time. The city of Lowell is part of our, who is working towards accreditation as well. Some of those benefits would help our department with looking at things like health equity, cultural views, healthcare needs. It would improve our competitiveness for future funding opportunities and grant opportunities. They look at the health department to see if it is nationally accredited. That will go for BIDLs and mass.gov grants that we could bring here in the department. It also would improve our data collection for priorities and how we can design our programming and support the community. It will elevate our weaknesses, establish us to write policies and procedures. Also to look at our quality and performance programming. And those are just a few.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Tom had his hand up, and then you, John. And,
Yeah, Ray, in a previous packet,
and then Anita.
in a previous packet when this came up, Ray, I think there were some examples from other communities, other community health assessments that have been done. And when I compared those with information that we already have in some cases, there were a couple of new things. And you pointed that out, I think, in some of the analysis you provided. But a lot of it was, analysis of census data that we've done before. I guess what I'm wondering is if we could find an approach to get really just the missing pieces that we don't already have, presumably at lower cost, potentially. I don't know if you've explored that. It looked like some of the community survey work was new and would be very valuable. I'm wondering if we could sort of downsize the program so we're just getting the missing parts of what we don't already have from other places.
Sure. So that's certainly something that we can look into. Like I said, just reaching out briefly to communities and partnerships that already provide this service, that specialize, I should say, the contractors. When I talked to them and submitted all of our assessments here in Westford and our surrounding areas, including the behavioral assessment, they did say that, we needed a comprehensive community assessment that looked at environmental impacts, climate change, cultural and diversity, health equity, things of that nature. And I know that some of the surveys, don't include that and don't have a wide panorama look, if you will, at just Westford. For instance, Greater Lowell assessment looks at hospital data for our surrounding communities, but not necessarily specific to Westford. So we're happy to look in and see if there's any way they can lower the cost where we have so much data already available. This was just the initial, if they wanted to do a full comprehensive inspection. I hope that answers the question.
Go ahead, Tom.
So
Okay,
is it a
No,
requirement,
Tom.
Ray, of the, is it a requirement of the accreditation board that we use a third party, or are there any towns that are maybe getting a consultant just to help with the survey part and then sort of pulling all the information together other ways?
Yeah, actually, it was the town of Andover and North Andover that recommended this particular group that we had a meeting with, Health Resources in Action. We've used them in other ways here and for other grant opportunities. They specialize in community health improvement plans for cities, towns, communities. So when we reached out to them, they mentioned that they were also working towards these plans. It is not required that we hire a third party as part of accreditation. We can certainly do this on our own. It's a difference of shortening. We are required to do it as part of this grant to work towards accreditation, but this would just basically shorten from 7 to 10 years to accreditation. They could do this in 15 months for us.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anita, I know you had, and I'll come back to you, John, again, but Anita, I know you had questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all of the information and stuff that you've provided us, Ray, and the PHAB, I don't know what the correct acronym is, how to pronounce it. Robin's presentation was very robust. That logic model was very extensive. And I understand that going with this particular consultant would make sense because they're the ones who have been granted sort of like the implementation company, right, to work with them, with like the feds. I guess I have a question. I have 3 questions. One is, so if this was part of the application process with, of Westford and the other towns, was there a discussion about whether or not there needed to be sort of a regional assessment as opposed to 3 or 4 individual community assessments?
So there was, we talked about with not only our consultant, our grant manager consultant, but we also spoke with our FAB accredited coordinator who's part of the grant. If this was something that we could utilize or be more efficient with funding to see if we could all do this together and apply together. So we did reach out to the FAB accreditation board to see if that was a possibility. But unfortunately, each community has to apply separately. And in order before you can even apply, you need to have, like I said, this community health assessment, improvement plan, and then you need a strategic plan. All 3 of those need to be completed before you can even apply. So we did look into that to see if maybe, if Lowell and Westford team up together and apply, but we were not able to do that.
Okay. And then what was the plan going to be if you didn't have ARPA funds for this?
So if we're not approved for ARPA funding, we will continue on with the accreditation process. We will continue to work on a community health assessment as part of the FAB credits. Certainly truthfully, we don't have the capacity to do a comprehensive, we, in the past, the health department's put out, I think in the 17 years I've been here, we put out 3. But things like we've never gone out for focus groups. We've never evaluated, talked to communities or schools or committees to see their input, to ask if they'd like to put questions in. We've never marketed a community health assessment. So these are some of the things. And at the time when we put this request in, we did not have a community health and wellness coordinator for assistance. It's something we'll continue with. It will just take much longer to get through the process.
And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but my concern or question is around staffing in the workforce, right? So I know that like you're so busy as a department, you're short staffed already. And I know that you did propose pulling in Nicole, the community wellness coordinator, to assist with this project and stuff, but it just looks so robust. It looks so comprehensive that I just question the ability to like complete it all, even with the consultant's help. And I'm sure like Robin's excellent. But I was worried about just capacity of resources. And I don't know if that's something you could speak to a little bit more, Ray, because we didn't have Nicole at the time, but also Nicole has other responsibilities where this wasn't on that list. Could you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. So not only does our accreditation coordinator that is paid for out of the grant, not to get this all confusing, but they help us through the process. We meet twice a month to pick away, if you will, at this accreditation process and work on, for instance, right now we're working on a health equity policy we've never had and a branding strategy, all part of accreditation. accreditation process. I mention that because it's something that we will continue to do we're hoping to bring in this outside contractor, which is Health Resources in Action, and they have a whole team. That's why I said they'll be able to get these community health improvement plans together within 15 months. So it wouldn't just be Robin, it would also be, like I said, this outside contractor, and then utilize our regional community health wellness staff here in the office that have committed to accreditation. And, you know, our hope is that if Nicole had time, that she'd be able to sit.
Thanks.
John, I'm going to come back to you because I know you've been patiently waiting to ask another question or two.
Well, one thing is, there's a Massachusetts Department of Public Health baseline capacity assessment ongoing right now. It's supposed to be complete this year. Ray, what is that? Does that have any impact on your attempt to get a assessment going?
Yeah, so as part of our Public Health Excellence Grant, which is this $300,000 grant that pays for accreditation and Brittany Nash's position, we are required to fill out this capacity assessment for Westford. And so actually this morning, I chip away. It takes, I think for each section of the capacity assessment, we have 8 weeks to complete that. So I've already started that. They want to know everything from how many inspections, what kind of programming we're offering. And so, yes, we are required to complete that assessment.
It seems like the consultants or that accreditation agencies view, since I'm not sure how many commonwealths they deal with, view that it has to be an individual community. And I'd kind of question that versus doing it with a collaborative effort, say a regional or county-wide, and say the rest of the country. It seems to me that trying to do this on our own is going to be a real heavy lift. And I look at it, how much is this going to really help the day-to-day operations? Just being accredited, what's that going to do to help you serve Westford? I mean, we have issues here, you know, the things that you have to do on a daily basis. And another question is, what does DPH say about this? Are they encouraging communities to do this? Are they requiring it? So.
Sure. So your question regarding DPH, they do not require it. It is a voluntary process. They certainly encourage it. They encourage public health national accreditation for all health departments in Massachusetts. Certainly understanding that the capacity of all 351 communities and cities, it is not there to be able to complete accreditation. I certainly understand that. Here in our department, we have always strived to be the best and to be the higher standard. We provide a lot of programming, if this is part one of your question. We provide a lot of programming for the community, everything from, one example is Stop the Bleed classes and immunization clinics, and we provide well and septic programming. So because we provide all this program, we never evaluate, is it impactful? And are we providing the right programming? Do we want more mental health programming? Do we want more climate change programming? We have never really done a comprehensive, this is a community document and a community effort. So we've never really looked at the whole community as a whole and looked at a comprehensive public health, environmental topics, climate, things of that nature to include. In the past, we put together 50 questions, demographics, race, culture, ethnicity. What are the things that bother you here in the community? And we've gotten 300 assessments back that are concerned about tick. So we put out tick programs. But is that really being effective? Is that making sure that we're looking at our healthcare needs, housing needs, things of that nature? That's my hope that this assessment does for us.
You know, it would appear to me that, you know, if we were going to do this, that it would probably be better done, in my view, if we did it collaborative, whether it's the 4 towns that are in it now, or even a further bigger region, than just trying to do it by ourselves.
Okay.
So I have a couple of questions as well. The other 3 communities, Ray, have they started this a process? Are they looking at doing a community assessment? Where are they, if they are anywhere in this process?
I don't know where they are in this process. We meet as a collaboration once a month to talk about the requirements of our grant. A community health assessment is not a requirement if you are, for instance, Acton is in a different situation. They're still working on their ARPA funding. Lowell, I know, is just looking at a comprehensive look at their ARPA funding, and I know that the health director there is still working on where she wants to go for the community health assessment. They do also have a full-time community health and wellness staff that's able to work on that. So I don't know the specifics of all of the 3 other communities where they're at with their accreditation process.
Okay. And then I think you just answered my second question. I just wanted clarification, which is the grant that we have doesn't actually require that we do this, right?
It does not require, it does not state in it that
Okay.
we are required to be accredited. We applied for the accreditation process. We applied for accreditation coordinator funding and we received it.
Right, okay. So can you use the grant funding that we have to help with this process and to help set up or not? And I guess, we've got, we have this grant, we have this funding. Can we use at least part of, some of that funding to do, to start or to put towards the community assessment?
So the grant was written before me.
I know that, yep, I
but
know.
I just wanted to mention that. The grant was specifically stated that the $295,000 and change was to be used for salaries for 3 different positions. One, the grant manager, which is an outside consultant. We use the same outside consultant as our accreditation coordinator. And then we have an employee in the grant, and her salary is paid out of that as well. There's some fringe in there for the employees' daily needs, desk, mileage, things of that, COLA, things like that.
Overhead.
Right, there's no extra funding, unfortunately, for, to put towards this.
Okay, so the funding itself has to go to the salaries of the,
Salaries.
okay. And then at least my final question for now is, and then Anita, I'll go back to you, and John just raised his hand again. Listening to you just a moment ago, sort of stating what you hoped this assessment would do and how broad and comprehensive it was and some of the things you thought were missing. I'm not so sure that's completely true. I mean, I think when you talk about housing and when you talk about sustainability, our social worker and the director of our senior center and the Affordable Housing Trust Committee, they all have information that goes towards housing. And in fact, the Affordable Housing Trust Committee is in the process of completing our housing plan that we are required to do every 5 or 8 years. I can't remember exactly how many, but we're just, we've been working on that with NIMCOG, which has got a tremendous amount of information about housing and housing needs. The Sustainability Committee and the Climate Action Committee has done surveys over the last months with respect to sustainability. And so there's a lot of information out there about that. So, and that coupled with information that we already have, including information that we got from, an assessment that was completed through the TSSTF several years ago, I think harkens back to Tom's point that I think a lot of what you're talking about, we may already have here, but what is missing is gathering all of that information in one place and putting it all together. So, and that's a little bit different than, going out for a full survey and doing a survey, as opposed to looking at, before we do that, what information do we already have? What and how recent, obviously, is it, and how current is it? And then what are the holes that we need to fill? So I think those are questions and things that we might, I think that we need to look at and address sort of before we, so that we can understand exactly what we're missing in any kind of assessment plan, and what the survey, if we do one, should go after. Anita?
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate how you're trying to look at the bigger picture, Ray, and Health Department, or I'm sorry, Board of Health, of trying to be comprehensive about the community's health in general, and that you're looking at those social determinants of health, and you are trying to figure out what is the work plan, what is the plan for and the vision for community health in Westford. And I do agree with Andrea, though, where I feel like there's a missing piece here, where we're going from step one, which I know is still like you're trying to figure out what that information is, to this very comprehensive plan. And I know you said it takes like 7 to 10 years for accreditation, but it does feel like some of those pieces where you're talking about of like program satisfaction almost, or like implementation, trying to figure out the effectiveness of those programs, are things that you might be able to already implement now if you haven't already, that can help build that story that lends itself to the assessment, if this is making sense. So I feel like there's some of those pieces, and I know you're really short-staffed and really, really busy. So adding another thing might feel really stressful right now. But I wonder if adding those pieces could help create some of, or fill in those holes that Andrea was speaking to. But I think in general, the big vision that you have around this is very notable. Is really great.
John, and then Tom.
Yeah, Ray, was the accreditation coordinator a part of the original grant request?
It was. She's actually on the meeting tonight too, if you have any questions for her. But yes, it was part of the original grant that we hire an accreditation coordinator.
Okay,
We do also have Stephanie Granger, our chair, on. If you want to promote her to the conversation, she'd love to speak too. I just want to mention that.
No, I know
Well,
Stephanie has her hand up, and I will get to her.
Well, that
okay, sorry.
Okay.
That's
That
okay.
would indicate to me that they meant for this to be a regional effort of accreditation. If you're going to have an accreditation coordinator hired by a collaborative of 4 different communities, $200,000 seems to be a pretty high price for the what I saw in the description of what they were going to do. Just a comment.
No, I do appreciate that. And this, I know initially when the grant was written, this was written to be a regional effort. And since taking on this grant, I have learned that we can certainly hire an outside contractor to work on all our regional community health assessment plan. But again, we were told that individually we would need to apply for accreditation in our community. For us, it's to look at the gaps and, where we can do better with our programming. And that's what the proposal is tonight, for this outside contractor to be able to provide that for us.
Tom.
Thanks. I may be echoing other people, but I'm very much in favor of doing what you're talking about, Ray. I think we really do need, or would really benefit from, I should say, we'll look at what range of services we're providing, and is it the right mix, and are we focusing in the right place? I think some community survey work would be really valuable. We don't have that in any of these other documents that we've been talking about tonight. So I'm almost wondering if there's like a scope of work that we could create that's targeted at the gaps that we all really want to fill, and then get some outside help for that. I know that you're busy. It's not a good solution just to kick it back and say, well, you guys just add this to your list. I know that you need more help and more resource to do it, but I think if we could, at least for me, if I could see a scope that's narrowed really to where the gaps are, and then we can put that out and see what kind of help we can get from outside sources, I'd be excited to support that. I'm just still a little bit looking at some of the earlier community health assessments that were provided in an earlier packet. And I want to make sure we're not specifying something with a lot of overlap in it, because that just doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. And I think as part of that scope, we have to go and look at what we already have in the town in terms of information and work that we've already done. I mean, like I said, you know, the housing committee is about to complete its housing plan. You know, the sustainability committee's done work. The TSSTF committee did work. We have that assessment from a couple of years ago. I know that it doesn't address all of the concerns that, you know, and all of the parameters you've talked about tonight, Ray, but it certainly, I think, has some of that information in it. So I think, you know, gathering all that, and that may be part of the scope of work you're talking about, Tom. And then from there, we can figure out what the missing pieces are, as you talked about, and where we still need to fill in those holes. John, I'm going to go to you, and then Stephanie Granger has patiently been waiting, and I'm going to have Eric promote her.
You know, what, based on what I've seen and what I've read here, I would much prefer that if we were going to move ahead, that we get the other three communities on board. We come up with a plan of how we're going to do the assessment among the four communities, and we do that. And if accreditation comes, fine. The real issue is taking care of our communities. We do an assessment. We figure out where the holes, what things we're missing, and we can go forward there as a collaborative and get it done. And I know that the Massachusetts government is coming forward with some other help for departments of health. But I think the goal should be do the assessment with the four communities, get them to sign on, first of all, and then do the assessment that benefits us, find out where we are, and go from there. If accreditation doesn't happen because it has to be individual communities, so be it. I'm all for taking care of the community versus the accreditation. That doesn't buy you much in my mind.
Okay. Stephanie.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. So I'm going to start just by saying that the Board of Health wants to make the point that ARPA funds have as a very key target supporting health departments. And we have been working with you on a variety of different proposals. We've found other options, trying to do what you're asking. And we really think that this is one of the ways that will benefit the community, use those funds to support the health department, and help our town have better health, which is something that we saw during COVID has been neglected significantly. In terms of public health accreditation, it is a relatively new thing. It is supported by the CDC, the MDPH, the APHA, all of the public health organizations are supporting this. It does have an impact, unlike what John believes, because as we go forward trying to seek grants, they're going to be asking whether we are accredited, where we are in that process. They will be asking us what we are doing one of the things that this encourages is for us to work with other organizations in the community. And as we go through the process of accreditation and strengthen those, which I would claim at this moment are not particularly strong, that will stimulate and improve our ability to get more grants and to retain the grants we currently have. If we do not pursue accreditation, we will lag behind the other towns in Massachusetts who are also in this process, and we will not be awarded the grants that we need to keep our health department running and to keep our community healthy.
So,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I didn't mean to. I thought you were done. I didn't mean to.
No, I think I
Go
can
ahead.
pause there.
Okay, so just a couple of things. So first of all, I don't think anybody is saying that this is not important, Stephanie. And I don't think anybody is saying is that having a look at what the health needs are of Westford are, what's important, what's effective, what isn't effective, you know, the social determinants, as Anita mentioned, are all important. I think what you're hearing tonight, though, and I think you and Ray should take away from this is, you know, we are seriously considering this and investing in this, and all of our questions tonight are because we've spent a lot of time thinking about this and trying to understand it. It's not just something that we're saying, oh, what's this, you know, fine or not. Okay, I mean, you know, we really are. The board, all five of us are delving into this because we want to make sure that whatever, if and when and whatever we approve is indeed what the town needs and what meets the town's needs. So I certainly understand that this has been a process. It's taking a while, but we want to make sure we get it right. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say is that while I understand that ARPA funds are one of the targets of ARPA funds is for health departments and health of communities. It's not the only target, okay? I mean, ARPA has a lot of goals and purposes, including health departments, including infrastructure for communities, including, personal protective equipment, protecting, our community itself. So lots of things. And I'm not putting one in front of the other, and I'm not prioritizing one in front of the other. All I'm saying is that, lots of goals, lots of purposes for ARPA. And I think over the last year, as you've seen, we have, while $7 million sounds like a whole lot of money, at the end of the day, we really have tried to be, very careful and considered in what we spend those funds on. And that's all we're trying to do here as well. And so I wanted to make that point as well. So.
Yeah, can I say another thing?
Yes, absolutely.
No, I think, thanks.
No,
And,
you can't
and
say
just
no
to
more.
that point, we gave the 60,000 request. We crossed that one off because we
Yep.
found a workaround. So the health department clearly is trying to do that. But the one thing I wanted to point out, it was mentioned that it could take 7 to 10 years to get accreditation. It doesn't have to.
Mhm.
That's only if we try and sort of piecemeal it ourselves.
Mhm.
That it can be a much faster process, and that I think it's very key to recognize that we have people through grants that are only like 3-year grants to help us with this now, but we don't know that we will have that long term. And so being able to move on this key component of our accreditation process in a very timely manner is really a quite critical thing.
Thank you. All right. Robin Wilcox has her hand up, who I believe is, who I know, not I believe, is the consultant who's been working under this grant. So if we could promote her.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. I really appreciate the opportunity just to say a few things because there's been a lot of discussion and there are many times that I wanted to clarify things, but let me clarify a couple, I think, important things. First, about the community health assessment and the community health improvement plan, particularly the community health assessment. It is not merely an analytical document. It is not merely a survey. It is not about doing a survey and then collecting data and doing an analytical document about where the needs are. The process, and let me back up for a minute. I worked as the Chief Program Officer for the Public Health Accreditation Board for 13 years until about 2 years ago. Before that, I worked in communities, and I worked in a number of communities doing community engagement and community health assessments. So community health assessments and community health improvement plans were a good idea for communities way before accreditation. The reason it's included in the accreditation standards and measures is because we knew from experience that they're very, very valuable to communities and to public health departments and to the entire community. And building on that, the community health assessment is a community document. As I said, it's not an analytical document. It's not just here are the data and here are how we have analyzed them. It's a community document that requires a community process with partners and reaching out into the community and community engagement. FAB, it's the Public Health Accreditation Board is known as FAB. Their standards and measures say very clearly, this is a community document. It's not a health department document, and it must have a process that includes people that represent populations in the community engaged in even determining what data are looked at. And I appreciate your concern that you've got a lot of data already in the community from housing and sustainability and other areas. That is one of the very first steps that the consultants will do. They'll be working concurrently with developing a partnership of representatives of the community that will drive the process for the development of the CHA, as well as looking at what data are already there. So the idea is not to reinvent the wheel at all. The idea is to look across the community and say what data are already there that we can look at, and then look at what the gaps of the data might be. And they might do a survey. They might decide we don't need a survey. They might do some focus groups. They might say, well, we have these data over here from housing, but we need to do some more in-depth data collection around that issue in these populations. So they may decide, they may advise that some focus groups be held. And then they pull all that information together into an assessment. And then the community health improvement plan that is part of this funding request builds on that community health assessment. Not only does it build on the document, but it builds on the process, because again, what we've learned in community that works and what FAB requires is that you have a community partnership and process that engages the community in the development of the plan. So the plan, again, is not a health department plan, it's a community plan, and it has goals and objectives and assignments of people across the community saying, yes, this area is my responsibility, I'll work on this. So it's a collaborative, the whole thing is collaborative. And that's one of the reasons why a regional document doesn't work. It really needs to drill down into the community, develop working relationships moving forward to both develop the assessment and determine what are the areas we really want to look at, and develop the plan, agree that there's a shared responsibility for health in Westford. It's not just the health department, it's a shared responsibility, so that it's the implementation of the community health and plan, the community health improvement plan. So I wanted to focus on that. I can talk about accreditation and the value of accreditation. And
Nope, we don't need to hear that tonight.
I didn't think so. So that's why I focused on the importance of the CHA and the CHIP and the process, and that it's not just a numbers document at all.
Yeah, okay. I think
Thank
we
you.
all get it and understand. Anita, you had your hand up, and then Tom.
I did, and I don't want to take us down too far because stakeholder engagement, you're speaking my language, Robin, and I know that it's really about getting champions at the table, making sure that you have leadership representation across all of these areas. If it's not a health department document or a health, Board of Health document, I'd be curious to know or learn more from Stephanie and Ray, like who are those champions who are at the table, right? So that we can invest in this community assessment together, or the CHA or the CHIP or whatever it's called. Because right now it very much feels like a Board of Health document. It feels like a health department document. And if you want to really holistically pull this forward or move it forward, you need those champions at the table across all of these different boards. So I'd be curious to also know at some point kind of what that stakeholder engagement has looked like up until now.
Okay, I'm not sure they can answer that tonight, Anita. But
I know.
I'm not sorry, I'm not sure if that was a question or if you wanted to see
It
that
is.
down the road.
I mean, you don't have to answer it now, but I feel like that's really part of what Robin was saying. You need all of this background work before you ask for the assessment. And so what has that background work been? And if we don't have the answer tonight, that's okay.
No,
Or
that's
if we don't have
okay.
time.
Tom?
I wanted to sympathize with Ray and Stephanie a little bit. I know this feels like excessive scrutiny somehow, but for all these major proposals, it's like this. Lots of questions, lots of like pulling on threads. What would help me, I think, is and I apologize that I didn't have this available to share right now, but I would love to see examples of the finished product that you consider best in class. I know you've shared some before, and I'd like to see what the scope is that you're putting out for bid. And just so I can see what's in the scope of work, and I can see what we already think we have and what we think we need. And maybe if we could get that in front of some people who can bid on this, so they've got knowledge of what we already have. So they aren't bidding not knowing, they know what we already have. And that's part of their consideration when they put something forward. I'm in favor of doing this. I just want to make sure we're spending money on the new things that we need, and that we're not duplicating. And think, I'll tell you that I think as part of the Town School Safety Task Force, I think Scott would agree. I think the mental health well-being survey was disappointing because it ended up being so general and so much regurgitation of stuff that we had from other places. And I just don't want to live that again. So it would help me to be more supportive to you if I could see a best-in-class example, and I could see a scope of work that called out the gaps that we're looking to fill with some acknowledgement of what we already have.
Tom, I'll certainly echo my disappointment in the mental health wellness survey that we got and the results. I agree with you about that. I'm thinking out loud now, and Anita, this goes to your point about getting, stakeholders at the table. Maybe, and also helping all of us understand, maybe what would be helpful is if, in addition, Ray, to and it sounds like up until now, it's been really the health department and the Board of Health who've been driving this and who've been moving this forward. And maybe what is needed right now is to sort of get together with some of the stakeholders. Jennifer Claro comes to mind, Allison comes to mind, somebody from the Affordable Housing Trust Committee, somebody from, sustainability. Those people come to mind immediately. I'm sure there are some other folks that we probably might want to include, and establish like a working group to gather the information, Tom, that you're looking for, and then to see, okay, this is what we have, this is what's missing. And then also, as you asked for, sort of best in class, Tom. And that I think might then help us to see how to best spend the money and to get what we really need. I throw that out as a suggestion to folks in terms of trying to move this in moving this forward and getting to where we want to be. John.
I have one question for Ray. Ray, did you say that the accreditation coordinator has already been hired?
Yes.
Okay, now we don't have the buy-in from the other 3 towns. How does that come about? Who did the hiring?
So all 3 towns were on the interview committee and also reviewed, in this case, it's CME Strategies, which is an outside consultant who specializes in public health initiatives, who hired the accreditation coordinator with all 4 communities involved.
So what's the coordinator doing now?
So the coordinator right now, we have already committed to accreditation. The Board of Health has voted on it. So as a community, as a health department, we're already meeting twice a week with the program, with the accreditation coordinator. So are the other communities are meeting with the accreditation coordinator to pick away at tasks that are required.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board? We need to give these folks some direction so that they can move forward. Scott?
I was just thinking on, we've got, I think, 2 issues in front of us tonight in terms of requests for spending. And, to me, the dental one is a pretty straightforward yes. Dental health, if not done well, affects other health. And I think we're looking at a winter of folks making choices between food and heat, never mind dental. So I'd be inclined to approve that one. Is 20 grand the right number? I don't know, but it's, it's double what we usually spend. That's probably a safe estimate. And, it can always be, I presume, carried over to a future year if we needed to. So I'm inclined to support that one. And I think we've kind of agreed to sort of do some more homework on the accreditation. I'm not quite sure if we want to, what that concrete specifics are, but I just want to make sure we do get approval for the dental plan.
All right, so let's take the dental plan. Okay, is there a motion to approve $20,000 from ARPA to support the dental program for fiscal year 23?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, all those in favor, Scott,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Anita,
I,
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got that one done. Tom?
I would love to see this proposal again, just with a couple of things that I'd mentioned that would help me.
Mhm.
And I think Andrea's suggestion of getting some more stakeholders to be part of your proposal committee could be pretty helpful. So I'm excited about this. I think this is something we need to do, but in order to feel like I know that we're spending money on the right way, I'd love to see just the best-in-class example, sort of well-informed scope of work that we can look at. And if you have some other co-presenters, I think that would be really helpful to you as well, to us as well.
Okay. I agree. It sounds like, I think that's sort of the direction you're hearing. I think that gives you guys direction moving forward, but John, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Westford should go down this road by ourselves. Looking at the scope of this and the nature of the grant, the positions that are working for the four communities, I'd like to know more about why you don't think a collaborative effort of 4 communities would not work. I think it would. I think it'd be more economical. I just can't see Westford, $200,000 for this entire effort over what period of time. I think we ought to approach this from a collaborative effort of the 4 communities, because that's where the grant reads. And then see how the Department of Health moves forward too.
Stephanie?
The grant is for 4 communities to work independently, but share the resources. In Massachusetts, we have home rule, we have an independent health department, and we are required to do this independently. It is not an option to do it as a regional approach. They accredit the health department, we don't have regional health departments in Massachusetts, so it's just not an option.
And Ray, and then we're going to make a decision and move on because we have other things to do tonight.
Sure. No, I know you're so busy. I just wanted to add, John, that
No, that's okay. I mean, please, I think as Tom said, I mean, we really delve into projects and we really want to understand them. So, no worries about that, Ray.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to reassure John that this grant, we do work very, very collaboratively with all of the communities. We're the host agent, so we take in anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000 that goes to Westford as part of this as an admin fee that goes back in the free cash in here in town. But we do work collaboratively. We utilize Brittany Nash, our community health accreditation, our coordinator. We all use her. We all work together for resources. We meet as a team, all 4 communities, and share ideas and whatnot. But when it comes to the accreditation portion, we meet as a team as well and work together, but unfortunately we can't apply as a collaborative. And that's the FAB requirements. That isn't anything with our grant or because our individual communities don't want to work together. It's the requirement is that Lowell has to apply separately than Westford. So I just wanted to mention that, that's all.
Great, thanks. So I think, John, to go to your point, we're not authorizing any money tonight for this. I think what we're saying and sort of at least from the other members of the board, what I'm hearing is that we've asked the health department and the Board of Health to do a little bit more homework, get us a little bit more information, reach out to some stakeholders and get them involved, and then come back to us, to give us further information for us to consider. So, Stephanie and Ray, have we given you direction? Are you okay with, are you okay with and clear with what we're looking for?
Yeah,
And
is
I'm
there a
happy-
timeline that we can kind of have as when we might discuss this again?
Actually, I was going to throw that back to you, Stephanie, and Ray, given, sort of what, how long it's going to take you to do this, to gather the information and to say to you, when you're ready to, when you've got the information, when you're ready to come back, let us know and we'll put you on the agenda. So I was actually going to put it back in your lap. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
All right.
the time.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you're doing on this. And, as Tom and I and everybody has said, it feels frustrating, I know. And it feels like we're really delving into the details, which is true, we are. But I think at the end of the day, when we get there, we'll all be better for it and we'll be serving Westford well and getting the best possible product for Westford. So thank you for all of your work on this. We really do appreciate it. All right. Okay. I think that was all we had to discuss under ARPA tonight, right, Jody? Okay, she's nodding yes. All right, so we're at our 7:40 p.m. item, which is old and new business. And the first item is to approve wording of 51 Main Street and JB Fletcher Library ballot questions and approve the order for the town election warrant for Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Jody, is this you?
Yes, I just asked Eric if he could pull up the language for the ballot.
Okay.
We have run the 2 questions for the 2 capital projects by bond council and town council. And the third is the language that you voted to approve going on the ballot at your last meeting. So I think if you could pull that up, you can take a look. So we don't know what order you want these in either. And this is the language.
Okay, so let me first ask if any of the board members have any issues with the language of what's, at least what for now is number 1 and 2 with respect to 51 Main Street and the library. Town council, as Jody just said, town council has approved the language, so.
And bond council.
And bond council. Always important that bond council approve the language. I don't see anybody with any questions. So there's that. And as Jody said, we approved the language for what's number 3 at our last meeting. John?
Just one clarification on number 3.
Yep.
Am I correct? Am I correct in it's a non-binding vote when they vote, when it goes to ballot, that'll be a non-binding result according to the council?
Jody, do you know the answer to that question?
I'm not sure, John, what you mean.
Well, I think you need to put a perspective in it. Some of the comments you get back about the approval of that our last meeting was it was a circumventing special town meeting. But I understand from the from the council reply, I don't have it right here in front of me. I thought I did, and it was pretty much said it was a non-binding vote. It was, and I just want to make sure that's correct.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to answer that question, John. So if you have a question like that, I would rather get a legal opinion. Really town meeting, that vote was already taken. And my understanding and recollection is that it was referred to DEI for a recommendation, and DEI made that to you, and you have agreed to put this on the ballot. So my understanding is if this passes at the ballot, if the board has added this to the ballot, then the select board will be declaring the second Monday as Indigenous Peoples' Day. So if that, I will double check with council if that's not correct.
I'd like clarification on that because that's what I read in his response. When he reviewed the language that was put forward.
Okay, we'll get clarification for you, John. Okay,
Well, I think it should be a clarification that's well understood too. So, I mean, I don't think.
when we
this-
get, we'll certainly make it, make it public and publicized for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I do think that you do need to vote this language tonight for it to be put on the ballot. I believe tonight is the deadline and Patty can, provide clarification if I'm incorrect on that. But I can certainly look at whether this is binding to the town or not.
Okay. So Jody, so we have to vote on putting these three articles on the ballot? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, and if you want to skip this for a minute and move on to the next item, I can try to call Greg right now. I don't know if he'll pick up, but I'm happy to make that call.
Sure. I mean, if you can do that and if he can answer it on the fly, if not, you can let us know that as well.
All right. So if you could just skip this and go on to the
Okay.
fence and
We-
excuse me for a minute.
We can do that. So our next item on the agenda is to consider the possible installation of additional fencing and selective tree removal at the property line located between the Westford Police Department and 4 Lincoln Street. I guess Eric or Chief Chambers, who is speaking to this, at least to start with?
I guess I will, Mr. Chief.
Okay,
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. So over the past several years, we've had major issues with the pine trees along the west side of our parking lot. We've had them trimmed several times, but the amount of sap that it continues to drip on the vehicles that we park over there, both personal and department vehicles, damages the finish. So we did make a request with the town manager's office to see if there were other alternatives, particularly to have them removed. And that's where we stood. And Jody and Eric have both had conversations with the abutting property owner for the alternatives once the trees are removed. So Eric might be able to speak a little bit more to that part.
okay. Eric, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So I did speak to the property owner and I think they were looking to have the trees replaced with a fence that matches the existing fence that runs along a portion of the parking lot between 4 Lincoln Street and the police department. And we did obtain some quotes, initial quotes anyways, for the tree removal and the fence installation, which was included in your packet.
And I do know that the fence that's there, just for folks, the town paid for that fence when that portion of the fence went in years ago initially. So we already have a precedent where we have paid for the fence. So questions, comments, Scott?
Yeah, so just after the 9/11 memorial service, I got a tour of the parking lot with the chief and John, and those are not very attractive pine trees. I know there's a lot. We all love our trees in town, but those are not exactly prime specimens of arboreal beauty. Actually, I like the idea of a fence because arborvitaes are nice. They would be green and they would be perhaps more ecological. They also require a lot of maintenance and they tend to die early and require then removal themselves. So I think this is a good solution. I'd be inclined to vote in favor.
Okay, Tom? And then John.
This seems like a necessary solution, given the maintenance problem that the current situation is causing. I don't know if this program could accommodate planting some additional non-problematic trees, either close to the same place or nearby. I just know there's a lot of sensitivity amongst people that we maintain our beautiful stock of trees. And so I don't know if it would add much cost if we could include planting 3 or 4 or 5 trees somewhere, appropriate, the right kind of tree.
Are you saying that instead of a fence or in addition to the fence?
No, it sounds like we need the fence for a different reason.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, just to replace the tree stock.
Mhm.
If that's not a major expense and we can find a good way to do it, I'd be in favor of doing that. But I can hold that as a separate suggestion. I would make the motion to support the existing proposal.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, and John, I know you had a comment. I wasn't going to forget about that.
Well, I guess the only thing, I looked at it and I've had sap on my cars before too. And I know what it's like. $40,000 just seems like a big price to pay to keep sap off the cars, but I kind of understand it. So what's the maintenance issue here, Chief? How much is it, the maintenance cost you?
Well, it certainly doesn't cost us 40,000. But so the issue is that any vehicle that parks back there ends up having some minor paint damage. So our
Yeah.
trade-ins, but the major issue that hopefully this will solve is the ability to even use that parking area for both personal and for police vehicles, particularly with 51 Main, hopefully moving forward. Our police parking is going to be a major issue because as of now, we actually utilize some of the additional parking over by the old fire station and along with some of the town employees. So it is a major issue. It effectively eliminates about a quarter of our parking by those pine trees. So
Okay.
the screen itself, the fence, again, that's something that I think the resident really wanted to maintain the same aesthetics as the fencing that's currently there. So
Anita?
Does the $4,000 for the tree removal include stump grinding?
Eric, I'm going to ask you to answer that question.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, but I certainly can check with that in the morning. And I did want to reiterate that the quote of approximately 34, 35 to install the fence is certainly a preliminary number. We will be seeking competitive prices and hopefully get that down quite a bit. So we certainly don't have to award it if it's unreasonable.
I'm going to assume that doesn't include the stumps.
Okay.
Thanks for checking.
Sounds like it's spoken by somebody who's had trees removed and stump grinding.
And sap on their car.
And sap on the car. With that, is there, we do have a motion and a second already on the floor. So seeing no more discussion, all those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Jody, you're back.
Yes, I'm back and I have Greg Corbo on the line. And so I posed to him John's question and I have him on speaker that John asked if the ballot question about renaming Columbus Day to Indigenous People Day in Westford passes, whether that's binding. So if Greg can speak and hopefully you can all hear him.
Yes, he certainly can speak.
Go ahead, Greg.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
That's great. Great. Hi, everyone. So Jody just gave me a call and asked the question that came up about the ballot language to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. And we had previously given an opinion on this that because Columbus Day is a federal holiday, the town of Westford does not have the authority to legally change the name of the holiday because that's something that is established by federal and state law. However, if a ballot question like this were to pass, then, for all, ceremonial and informal purposes, that's what the holiday would be called in the town of Westford. But for legal reasons, it would still officially be Columbus Day. So for example, when you create policies or collective bargaining agreements for employees and, you know, you're looking at the time that they have off, they would have off for Columbus Day because that's the national holiday. However, you know, when you choose to celebrate it and refer to it in town, you can refer to it as Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Does that answer your question, John?
Yes.
Okay. Greg, thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt your evening.
No problem at all.
Yeah. All
Thank you,
right.
Greg. Bye-bye.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Eric, can we get the ballot questions back up, please? Thank you. Okay, so if I understand correctly, and Jody, please correct me if I'm wrong, we have to first vote to approve putting these 3 questions on the ballot. Is that correct?
Yes, you're going to approve these 3 questions in the language and then tell us the order you want them in.
Okay, let's do the approving of the 3 questions and approving the language first, and then we can talk about the order. So is there a motion to put these 3 questions on the November ballot and approve the wording as appearing tonight? Scott?
Yeah, given my prior vote of what's now question 3, can we do 1 and 2 separately from 3?
Sure, no problem. We can do that, absolutely. So do you want to make a motion with respect to numbers? Anita?
Should the first one end in a question mark instead of a period to match the second?
Oh, yeah, you're
one?
probably right.
It's like having Kelly back.
I'm sorry, what, Scott?
It's like having Kelly Ross back.
I'll make a motion to accept the wording for questions 1 and 2 as amended by Anita's suggestion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a further motion to approve the wording of question 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Tom,
Aye.
John,
Just a question. We'll put it on the ballot too, right?
yeah,
Okay. Aye.
Scott,
Abstain.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now the order. Does anybody have strong feelings about the order?
This seems like a good order to me.
Seemed like a good order to me too, but you know, I didn't know if anybody had any strong feelings about it or not.
I make a motion to accept the order as presented.
Okay. Is
Second.
there- okay. All those in favor? John,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. And Anita, just so you know, Ellen Rainville in the chat said, should question 1 end in a question mark? So you and Ellen were on the same page.
I feel validated. I trust her.
All right. We are at number 3, consider approval of an affordable housing restriction for the Helena Crocker residences. David Hedison is here to speak to that. So can we promote him? Hi, David.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you. This is a specific affordable housing restriction that deals specifically with the $1.9 million that was from local funds. There are a total of 4 restrictions on the property. I wanted to call out the local money in its own special restriction. Usually, recently, the Roberta McGuire development, those funds or that restriction was bundled in with the state restriction. I like to do things a little differently and do a separate one, which layers it. So if the state one ever lapsed, the local one would always be there.
Okay, any questions from anybody? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the affordable housing restriction?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
And all those in favor, Scott,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, David. We're excited. I know you have do you want to announce the groundbreaking?
Yes, if I'm able to
Yeah.
do that. Emails will be sent out for the 26th. So 2 Mondays from now at 1 p.m.
Great.
And emails will be sent out, Jody.
Thank you. We're all looking
Thank you.
forward to it.
Thanks for everything, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, we have a request from the Communication Advisory Committee to appoint Milan Tamaskar as a full member for a term expiring on June 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
A second? Okay, all those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye. I
Aye.
think we missed,
I missed the
Aye.
scholarship grant. I'll
Yeah.
go back to that. Okay. And now we have a request from the Scholarship and Grant Committee to appoint Seema Pulsakar as a full member for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you both for volunteering. Very much appreciated. And finally, we have a request from the Dog Park Task Force to reappoint Karen Hudson as a full member for a term expiring on June 30th, 2024. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And all those in favor? John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Special town meeting, which is Monday, October 17th, 2022 in the Westford Academy Gym at 7 p.m. We have proposed warrant articles and draft motions, and we need to set the order tonight. So Jody, do you want to run through these for us?
Sure. Eric, if you don't mind pulling it up, the warrant or the motions, whatever. Motions, well. Okay, we're gonna go through the motions. So number one, unpaid bills, we don't have any, but we're going to leave it on the warrant because we don't want the numbers of later articles to change that have been advertised. So the number two, this is budget adjustments. And because the state budget came in a little higher than what we had put in our budget once it was approved at town meeting, we have a little bit excess funding that we would like to allocate at this town meeting. We'd like to reimburse well, I don't know, do you want me to get into the details or just go through what the articles are?
You
Save
can,
the details later, but it's up to you.
I mean, you can quickly go through the details of this one, okay? I
Okay.
mean, what
And
you're
maybe
reimbursing.
Dan can get on to, in case I missed something, but so we want to reimburse the finance committee for the library, some funding for the library project, and I believe for the town manager search firm, if you do that later tonight. Assessors, we have an abatement going on that they need some funding for. Town clerk is for all the mailing she needs to do now for mailing ballots, added postage. Police personal services is for training that was required that he would like a supplement to pay for. And then expenses, don't remember what the expenses were for, Dan. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's for software that they need for accreditation.
Okay. Fire department personal services is for staffing our fire department. Sealer of weights and measures, I believe we do have a number now, which we can fill in here. NIMCOG is going to take that over for us. We're so happy. And so they've come to our rescue, solved that problem, and we can put that number. I think it's around, do you know what it is, Dan, for this year?
4,762.
Perfect. And then this Westford Public Schools, we reached out to them and they would like to take the 76,500 and they were voting last night on what to use it for. I have not heard what that is, but we'll find out And then recycling expenses is because the market has now crashed again on our recycling products. So that is it. And what's this one, Dan? The 40,000?
So this is money for the fire department to purchase supplies. We talked about using money from the grant at the end of last fiscal year. However, we could just use free cash if those purchases want to be made.
That's right. Okay. All right. So then transfers. This is because we reorged the facilities department and we actually saved money, but this is helping have them or helping them have more staff to input town bills. So that's all the transfers. Then capital, the capital committee is meeting Friday. So this may change, but at this point, this is what they'll be talking about. And we will update this after Friday's meeting. Keep moving. I don't think I want to go through that till capital meets. Then we have the article on 51 Main. One thing that I have suggested is that we do take $1 million from free cash and put it towards this building if the town votes to support. We did the same thing when we built the fire station back in 2015, and our free cash is in a good situation. I'm happy to pull that up, or we can do that later when you discuss this. And I think I did have a question from John Cunningham on what the impact of this would be. And it would, if basically, if we lowered the borrowing because we put $1 million towards it, we would save about $420,000 over the life of the loan, the 20-year loan. And so that's something that I think is certainly doable. And we can talk about this later if you'd like, or tonight. The next one is the J.B. Fletcher Library. The number is not completely secure yet, so that's why it's highlighted. We'll hopefully have that before town meeting. Then our balance the budget article, and I don't know, Dan, if you want to speak to this.
Sure, this is our opportunity to apply any one-time funds. And speaking with Jody, we discussed possibly applying recreation retained earnings to help out with their deficit. So we'll have a revised motion for you when you vote on these next time.
So then the next article is to decrease the membership of Affordable Housing Trust Committee, which they've asked us to do. The board voted in favor of that. It needs to go to town meeting. Then we have the zoning bylaw amendment for accessory dwelling units. This was advertised, so that's why we don't want to change the numbers of articles. And this is the Tax Possession Sales Committee would like to change their name to Tax Possession Disposition Committee, and that does take a town meeting vote. And then finally, you did discuss this and vote in favor. We're asking the town to allow us to sell those two small parcels off of Pine Tree Trail and Burn Ave. So if tonight we're looking at you to approve the order of the warrant, we try to be consistent with the order we put it in every year.
Okay. Let me just, before we comment, let me just ask our town moderator if she has any comments or concerns about the order.
Nope, the order looks fine to me.
Okay. All right. Anybody from the board have any comments or concerns, or is there a motion? What do you need, Jody? A motion to approve the order?
Yes, that would be great. And then I'd like to say one more thing after you're done.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the warrant for special town meeting?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, Jody.
So we will have the warrant for you to sign at your next meeting. And I just wanted to announce, Angela, I don't think you've heard this, but actually John Giorgio agreed to come out and run our town meeting, even from council's point of view, even though he is retired. So we're just delighted that he's going to do that. And yeah, so good news for the town.
Great. All right. Anita?
Sorry, did you say we need to come in to sign this? Jody, is that what you just said?
No, I said that you will be voting to close the warrant
Oh,
on 9/27. So you will sign it after that. So we've got 2 more weeks to get everything put to bed.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Okay, with that, moving along to town manager's report.
You missed board reports and updates.
I'm sorry, any board reports and updates? Not seeing any now. I'm moving on to town manager's report.
Okay, so the first contract that we're requesting you approve is with Municipal Resources, Inc. for the executive search firm to assist with the town manager recruitment in the amount of $16,800. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Andrew, or you want me to keep going?
Why don't I say something about that just to let folks know? So we got 6 responses to the request for proposal that we put out. Scott and I reviewed all of them as you authorized us to do. One of them was unacceptable. They had never done a town manager report, town manager search. So they were unacceptable. 3 were from out of state. And then we came down to a final 2. We both Scott and I interviewed the final 2, the 2 finalists yesterday. I had a follow-up conversation this morning, and it is Scott's and my recommendation that we award the contract to Municipal Resources, Inc. For $16,800. They're very well experienced. They know our town really well. They did their research about our town, before they made their application, and then also in speaking with Scott and I, and I think, and both Scott and I think that we'll be very well served by them. And they are ready to go and ready to jump in and start. So it is our recommendation that to you folks that we approve the contract.
Thank you. And I am going to the Finance Committee with Andrea on Thursday to ask for the funds. So hopefully they will support your request. So also, if any of you want to see the proposal they provided, let me know and we can get that to you. Then for fiscal years 23 to 25, the collective bargaining agreement with the Westford Public Works Association, Weston and Sampson for fiscal year 23 landfill monitoring services, in the amount of $13,000, Northwest Local Public Health Coalition intermunicipal agreement for public health excellence for shared services grant. So you had a question about this at the last meeting, and I did give you the answer from Ray. I hope that cleared it up. But this was, well, I'm not going to explain it because you know. If you have more questions, let me know. Health Resources in Action for professional services related to the Upper Merrimack Valley Reserve Corps in the amount of $14,051. Purchase orders, Presidio for CER modules, installation and configuration in the amount of $65,975.96. Presidio for computer services in the amount of $47,630.94. Kelly and Ryan Associates for printing and collection services in the amount of $18,000 for the water department, and Bergeron Protective Clothing and Equipment for the new fire engine in the amount of $11,528.
So is there a motion to approve the contracts and purchase orders as listed here tonight?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, correspondence, and actually, I have a question about each of the correspondence. So the correspondence that we got from the Friends of Bruce Freeman Rail Trail was asking for a representative to attend their meeting on Thursday at 2:15 PM. I don't know if anybody is available to do that or not. Jody?
Yes, Michelle Collette, our recreation director, will be attending that meeting, and I did let Emily tell her no.
Excellent, thank you. And then the other was a DPU memorandum regarding public awareness and participation procedures. That letter looked like it was asking for comments from the communities. I think they're due like by the end of this week or something. Jody, are we responding to that, or what are we doing, if anything?
I'm not doing anything. If
Okay.
you all have input you'd like to share, then that would be great, but I'm not providing a response myself, so.
Okay.
If the public wants to respond, it is available on our website too. They can look at it and respond.
Okay. All right, and with that, is there a motion to waive reading of the rest of the correspondence?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all those in favor, just raise your hands. Okay, and with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay, all those in favor? All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody's help and input tonight. And Westford, stay safe. Good night.
Good night.